been making swords, but it got me to thinking about what's happening to Ares Armory. And what's going on is the ATF is going and raiding Ares Armory and other businesses that sell and produce 80% AR lowers. And what that is basically, for those of you out there that don't know, is if you make AR lower but only make it to 80%, that is not a firearm, and you can sell that as a hunk of steel. Then the person who receives it, if they choose to finish the other 20% of it, can thus make their own firearm that isn't serialized and isn't traceable, although when you buy a gun, the only way to trace it is by getting the form, supposedly. But anyway, it supposedly creates this untraceable AR lower, which, by the way, there's lots of AR lowers where nobody knows where the hell they are. There's millions of them out there. But the ATF doesn't like the fact that these companies are making 80% lowers. So what they're doing is they're raiding and harassing and threatening them and taking them to court, trying to argue the points. And the fact is these companies are following the rule of the law. The law was written, they have clear guidelines, and they are following these guidelines. And the ATF doesn't like that. They don't like that they're doing what rules they set up, that they're taking advantage of the way the rules and the system was set up. This is kind of the same way that the federal government was when they first started selling medical marijuana in California. California made it legal for dispensaries, but the federal government would occasionally come in and raid and take everything and just raid and take out a dispensary, trying to eliminate the trade. Well, guess what? They didn't get rid of it. In fact, they've pretty much given up trying to do that. But again, it's something that is legal to do that the federal government doesn't like because of their policy. So you're not breaking the law, Ares Armory, but the current administration and the current people in charge of the ATF don't like that you're following the law and doing it, so they're going to try to harass you and strong-arm you into doing it. It's very much the same way that the mafia and other organized crime functions. They come in, and if they don't like what you're doing, they know that they can't just make you stop, but they can threaten and harass and, get you to cease and desist, because it becomes so expensive to try to do it, it's not profitable anymore. So they're ruining their business. They can't get them legally, but they can drag them into court and waste enough of their money and threaten them enough that they can get them to cease and desist, probably. So this isn't right. It's not following the way the law was set. And they're not redefining the law, they're just trying to go after these manufacturers. So that's what the ATF's doing. Now, for those of you who don't understand, the ATF is not an actual, technically is not really a law enforcement type organization like we traditionally know it. All of our other law enforcement organizations have a specific job to go out and find criminals and put them away for the safety of the rest of us, to catch them and put them away to help our society. The ATF does not actually do anything that helps our society, and here's what I mean by that. Let's say that they, like they did up in Washington a couple years ago, they go up and bust a bunch of people who brought over cigarettes from Vietnam and are selling them at half the price that a carton normally sells for. They feel great when they bust all these people and take them off and try to throw them in prison for selling cigarettes. Okay? These same people who are selling cigarettes now are going to prison, and the ATF spent God knows how much money of our U.S. tax dollars to bust them. And now, let's say I'm the guy who's buying cigarettes. I go down to 7-Eleven, and instead of paying $20 a carton from the Vietnamese guy, I'm paying $40 a carton down at the gas station. Okay? Did the ATF protect me or make my life better? Were they protecting me as a citizen? No, they weren't, because I can go and buy the same product. They're only controlling the disbursement of a legal item. Okay? They're not helping society in any way. They're just maintaining control. Okay, let's take alcohol. Let's say that there's a guy who's a moonshiner who makes moonshine and sells it. Well, the ATF doesn't make taxes on it. They want to catch him and throw him in prison. Meanwhile, the guy who likes to drink moonshine can't get moonshine now, so he crosses the street and goes to the liquor store and buys alcohol there. Okay? And they're not protecting anyone. They're not protecting anyone from anything dangerous or illegal. They're merely controlling who can dispense and sell things. And it's not for the protection of the people, it's for the protection of their own bottom line and their own bureaucratic jobs in the grand scheme of things. Okay? Fast and the Furious. That was them trying to go and find people to sell guns down illegally to Mexican cartel members to try to make a case. This was a case where they were just sitting around going, dude, we don't have anything to do. What do we do? Oh, let's go try to bust some cartel members by selling guns and stuff. We can make straw deals and like show how awful these things are. Let's just make it all up. So it's the equivalent of that guy who pulls up in the ATF is the equivalent of those guys that pull up in the truck and ask if you want to buy the speakers out of the back of the truck at the grocery store, and you like know it's BS and a sting operation, that they're just, if you agree to buy the speakers that they're offering you, and you had no intention to buy speakers anyway, but they're giving them away almost for free, that you're going to go to jail. That's what the ATF does. They're a bunch of guys who are driving around in a truck trying to sell speakers to people. They're trying to bust people like teenagers smoking cigarettes or something. They're not doing anyone any good. They're just justifying their own jobs. And every time they get a bust, they like put it in the news and like, whoa, look at us, we're awesome. We busted people for selling cigarettes and now you gotta go to the store and buy them. We busted a moonshiner and now you gotta go down to the store and buy your alcohol, which they don't, they leave the second half out. But they're trying to say, oh, we're saving people from these 80% lowers that all these criminals can get a hold of. Meanwhile, the gangbanger has a Desert Eagle and an AK-47 that's fully automatic from Russia down on the street corner while you're worried about some 80% lower that a guy has to go and stick in a drill press and spend 2 hours to finish and build out and then buy tons of other parts to assemble. No gangbanger builds his own AR. He goes down and buys a stolen or illegal gun. So it's ridiculous. They're not protecting anyone, and in my opinion, a lot of what they do is just kind of a joke. So I hope I never have to like try to get another thing through the ATF again after this. I don't plan to, but they're probably going to put me on the shit list after this one. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and have
Meep.